Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason.
And I'm Amy.
And we're bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content coming out for you guys every single week. We're definitely building up towards our live streams, and we hope to do in the next 6 to 12 weeks. Really looking forward to those. As the build up to them continues, please check out our premiere videos coming out on Thursdays at 6 o'clock. You can live chat with us. I'm on it every Thursday. And just come in, BS with us, ask us any questions, give us suggestions for videos, or just, like I said, generally just BS with us. And on Tuesdays, I run a second one. So far, I have not missed one yet. I will always attempt to be on the Tuesday one, but I may not always make it. But I will review the chat logs afterwards, just to make sure I didn't miss any suggestions or anything, and or any questions.
Concerns, complaints.
Thank you very much to Wes and anybody else that's done the super chat, super sticker tips to us during those live chats. It's just going to go towards making it even faster for us to get this live stream going. We have to do an equipment overhaul in order to pull it off.
And then you'll get to see us in all of our real-time glory.
And we will have our fan participating at craps tournament, possibly a blackjack tournament, and God knows what else we're going to do. There's so many things we can do with live chats, so we're definitely looking forward, or live stream rather, we're definitely looking forward to doing it. And with that being said, we're going to jump into today's video. And today's video is another Crossfire, obviously, where we're going to talk about the craziest or funniest things that we have seen a dealer do. And I don't have too many of them for craps, but I'm going to lead off with the one that was just marginally amusing for me. When I worked at one point I was working for two casinos. I was working where I'm at now and another place that I've been at for a few months.
Super off-strip.
And yeah, it was very off-strip. And oddly enough, one of the dealers there was the roommate of one of the dealers at my new place. And had learned how to deal craps, but didn't like to deal craps. So he was usually on the card side and would just call over to craps anytime they were short. Now the problem is, the reason he didn't like to deal craps, he was like most brand new craps dealers, that he struggled with it. And like a lot of them, because he struggled with it, he didn't want to do it. So, because a lot of craps dealers, they make or break you in the first 30 days. Almost every craps dealer, the first 30 days questions whether or not they want to be a craps dealer or whether they just want to go to deal cards, so it's easier, less issues with the players, stuff like that. So he preferred to be on the card side. And so he actually progressively got worse at craps because he was never there. When you deal it for 2 hours every 6 weeks, you're not going to get better, you're going to get worse. So they call him over one time. And he comes over and he's on stick, and he moves the dice. The player selects there too, but he brings the stick back up. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and the players got their dice in their hand, and I'm like, the dice, the dice, the dice, get the dice. The player throws the dice, he turns and he starts calling. He calls the number, goes to scoop the dice, and I have to reach over real fast, grab the dice, and hand them off to the fox who's just sitting there just doing this. And I'm trying not to laugh. I'm inside. I'm
pick the two of the six that you like the most.
And I was just dying. He just left the dice sitting there on. It was such a crucial error. Oh man. What do you got?
This was many moons ago on Graveyard. I've been there for a couple of years. I'm sitting dead on a sit-down shoe game, and we've got a fairly new person, maybe been there a couple weeks, if that. No, probably a week or so. And it was time. We change the 6 decks every 24 hours, as there's not much touching and involvement where they get warped or get messed up or whatever. We'll change them more often if they're needed, but okay, anyways, it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, changing cards. She gets the first set changed, and initially the floor person will take the ones out of the shoe, the old cards out of the shoe. That way when she's finished with the first one, they can just go in and continue with the second deck. So she gets everything changed, cards are in play, everything's fine. Then, after she calls out shuffle, and the floor person not paying attention okays it, she gets to the next one, and she looks over and she says, "Aren't you going to bring me my new cards?" And he's very confused. He's like, we just changed your cards. You got new cards. And she's like, well, I'm out of cards. He's like, what do you mean you're out of cards? Just get the ones out of the shuffle machine. And she's like, she looks at the discard rack. There's no cards. He looks in the acrylic shoe. No cards. Opens the shuffle machine. No cards. Where are the cards? And she lifts up the paddle and looks into the hole where the money gets dropped. And just confusion and then horror as he realizes that she's telling him that 312 cards are sitting here in the money drop box that only the count team has keys for. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, he's got to call the casino manager to request keys to open the the cash box to get the cards out, or leave a note saying, "Hey, there's 12 decks of cards in this money box. We can't get any money in here because it's full of cards. Sorry."
What do you want me to do?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that story. It cracks me up every time I hear it. I gotta wonder where she went to school at, if anywhere.
I don't think she did. I mean, there's no way she could have left school and had the audacity to put cards into a cash drop box. I mean, there's a whole ass discard rack right here that I'm gesturing to because we have one on the table where you put your discarded cards at. And even at a dealer school, you'll see you sweep up the cards and they put them in the discard rack. They don't drop them into the ether. I mean, I don't know.
I just don't get it.
So that's a thing.
That was a thing once, yes.
That was a thing many times. 312 times.
Yeah, that's true. So this isn't actually a dealer, it's a student. But I'm teaching craps, and I'm doing a class one day.
It's gonna be Mr. Personality.
On how to pay improper bets, and especially the lays, because I have to teach dealers how to deal with an improper lay. Because when you're breaking is when you're most likely to have it happen. When you're not good enough yet to be able to spot that stuff in advance and take care of it. So I'm going over how to pay improper lays, and I'm dealing with the 5 and 9. Because the 4 and 10 are simple. It's dealing with the 5 and 9. And I placed out a $20 lay. That's improper. It has to be in units of 3.
Ooh, yeah. I know what it pays.
And
Pick me.
So I'm asking these students, how do we pay this? And I'm getting a lot of blank looks. My more advanced students are sitting there trying to puzzle through it. And they're making some guesses. They're making some decent guesses. Some of them get it right because there's only so much of a range that you can do. But they can't explain to me why. They're just doing number vomit.
Like it does.
And they're just throwing out numbers until I say yes. So I start walking them through it. I'm like, well, we're going to break this down into units that we know. Like, so we're going to start with 18 because 18 is proper. It's divisible by 3. So 18 pays what? And the more skilled ones, you're like, well, 18 pays 12. Like, okay, there you go. So you know that 18 pays 12. You have $2 left. And you know that as soon as we get into pennies, it doesn't matter anymore. You only need to deal with whole dollar amounts because the casino will keep all the breakage. So you just got to get down to where you're within pennies. So if we know 18 pays 12, with $2 left, let's look at $1.80. Because $1.80 would be both proper and, well, we just did 18. And the student that had been in the class the longest is struggling to give me an answer. But he's the one that is most vocal about wanting to answer. And he's doing the same thing, number vomit. I'm like, so what does $1.80 pay? $2. No, lays don't pay more than the bet. $1. No, not exactly. I'm looking for an exact amount. 50 cents. $1.30. $3. Like, at this point, I'm utterly baffled. And I'm like, no, okay, just slow down and stop. And I grabbed a piece of paper, and I wrote in huge numbers, 18
it's in there.
equals 12. Then right underneath it, I wrote another huge 18, but then I put a decimal point to make it 1.8. So if 18 pays 12, 1.8 pays what? And he's just staring. And starts number vomiting again. And I'm like, just move the decimal.
Then you just beat your head against the wall.
So he looks at it and goes, so 18 cents? I'm like, not that decimal. Move the other decimal. So $18? No, we just did $18. That's above. Move the and I'm even pointing around. And meanwhile, the other students, some of which have only been in the class for like 2 weeks at this point, are cracking up. They're just absolutely dying with laughter. And I was utterly baffled. It took us 10 minutes to get through, because I wasn't going to quit. It took us 10 minutes to get through this. I still, to this day, don't think he understands. And this is years ago. And he did deal for a little while at least.
Not successfully.
Not sure if he dealt craps. Oh, God, I hope not. But yeah, that was, oh my God.
He ended up getting hired at one of the places where their only requirement is that you be alive.
Yeah. Well, then he also got canned from there, but he went somewhere else. He dealt at a few different places. Who else do you got? I know you said you had like 3.
Well, we've also got another one where I don't know how, but I mean, as a dealer, you'll get somebody has a 6, a 2, and a 4, and they draw a 5, and they jokingly ask, "Hey, can I double down? Because it's 11." And then you just chuckle like it's the very first time you've ever heard somebody make this joke, and say, "No, you can only double on your first 2 cards." Well, nobody told this lady that they were joking, and she allowed them to double down on 3 cards, and then paid it. And we also had another one who was a part-time extra board hire through CJC for an event. And, she was on a shoe game and people were putting up bets for her. And even if the person was losing, she would leave the dealer bet out and pay it. And then put it over there and take the cards.
Wow. I assume she got canned for that.
Yep.
Wow. You know, that actually reminded me of one. So my second casino that I worked at, I'd only been there for a couple of months, and they hired these 5 new dealers. And apparently, now I got a chance to interact with them after they'd already been working for about a month. So now they've been dealing for a month on live games in a casino. Okay.
With actual people.
With real people, real money, everything. They, since they were on the card side, I hadn't had a chance to meet them because I was typically on craps. But one day I get sent over the cards. Now I've only been dealing for a couple of months, mind you. I'm still fairly new. And I get put on the relief. So I've got 3 of them where I'm breaking them. I would go down through their
20-minute break.
Right. I would be on their table for 20 minutes. About a quarter of the way through this, almost every player was just following me. They'd get up and move, and the deal, they actually told me it's because they didn't want to get in trouble because the dealer had no idea how to pay, and they were afraid they were going to get in trouble for getting paid wrong. Everything was wrong. They never went to a dealing school. Their chip rack, everything that they did was just absolutely wrong. But the real crowning achievement was I went to tap one of them out. Now, again, I've been dealing for a couple months, right? And yet I was tasked with cleaning up after them. Like the suits actually came to me and said, hey, when you get to your table, you need to fix this, need to fix this, need to fix this. Like, how am I suddenly a trainer? So go to tap one of them out. And usually when I tap someone out on cards, because it's cards, I really don't care that much. I'm not really paying attention. I'm literally really not paying attention. I come up, I tap, and then oftentimes I'm just until they start to move out of my way. Then I'll take the cards out of there. This was a shoe game, so I'm just waiting for them to clear their hands to get the hell out of my way. So I tap, and I'm kind of looking around at the rest of the pit, and I'm like, she isn't moving yet. She's basically frozen. It's like she's buffering. Or just like time stopped, or there's a glitch in the matrix. So I look over her shoulder. She's got one player. I look over her shoulder. Let's see if I can remember this correctly. Her cards in front of her, she had a 3, a king, then a 5, then a 4, then a 4, then an 8. So when she was at 13, she hit
To 18.
to 18. When she was 18,
She hit to 22.
she hit to 22. At 22, she hit to 26. And then at 26, she hit to 34. She was double the stopping point where the dealer must stand.
Well, our juice dealer is a wonderful, lovely person, and he's a good friend. But he is one of those that's incapable of talking and dealing at the same time. He's a good dealer, but if he starts talking and not paying attention, he gets clowned on all the time, because one time years ago he hit to 37 and had no idea how it happened. Hard 17, 10, 10. And then, wait a minute. Floor?
Something not right here. The only saving grace behind this particular situation was that the player had actually hit the 21, so he didn't care. He wasn't worried no matter what happened. And because he hit the 21, it made it a very easy decision for the floors to just say pay him and that shuffle. I think they made a shuffle, but just wow. And the reason for this, it turned out, aside from the fact that they clearly didn't go to dealing school, is that none of these 5 dealers could count. It got so bad after they've been dealing for a month, mind you, they still couldn't count. It got so bad that the floors started having them tapped off their game and taken to a closed table with a shoe, and had them just practice dealing out hands and saying aloud the total. 13, 17. 22. No, stop. They also, after dealing for a month, they still didn't know that an ace was a 1 or an 11. Wow. Yeah. Now, obviously, like she was saying, you can distract yourself at times. When I'd only been dealing for a couple of weeks and was mostly on craps, I was on blackjack one time, and we finished up everybody's hands, hit, stay, so on and so forth, before I noticed that I hadn't given myself a single card.
Oh.
Not even the first one, much less the second one. I was just chatting and just going, here you go, oh, good luck on that ace. I didn't quite get your blackjack, okay, 13, what are you going to do? And like, none of them clued me in either, because generally you look at what the dealer has in order to decide what you're going to do on like a 13 or something like that. We went through the whole thing, and then, all right, dealer's going to call the floor. Yeah, it was fantastic. I didn't give myself a single card. It was great. And the players
and you're staying in dice.
Yeah. Since we're on the oddest things that dealers have done, another one that I've done was on a pitch game. I think it was a super fun game. It was a it was an actual pitch game, and we finished.
Dreadful.
I finished up the
awful pitching.
The first hand, or the first 2-deck. I can't call it a shoe. What do you call it? What do you call it?
Deck.
Okay. Finish
the
up
shoe is the
I know,
is
but
the is
so
this.
I call it
guys.
2 decks.
This is a shoe.
So I finished up the first 2 decks, the first double deck, and I take the heel, I put it into the discard, and I'm sorry. I finish up the first one. As I get to the cut card, which tells me this is the end of the shuffle, I always take my cut card and I just drop it next to me. As I'm pitching, I just boop, drop it and I keep going. So I finish up and I put the cards away and I'm like, all right, I'm going to shuffle. And I look down and I'm like, where in the hell is my cut card? And the paddle was right there, and I must have hit the paddle and flipped off. But when it flipped because I turn around and look, and it's a good 4 feet away from me, right by the podium. So I have to call the floor. Pete, he's a real cool guy. This is my second casino I worked at. Pete comes over. I'm like, I dropped the cut card back there. He's like, how the hell did you do that? So he gives me the cut card. I do the shuffle. We had a shuffle machine, so I shuffle it. Now, this is only the first deck. We just opened the table, so all the cards are brand new. So now I go through the second deck. And again, brand new cards. I go through. I get to the cut card.
Than snot.
Get to the cut card. I take the cut card and I very carefully put it down, finish up the hand. Then I put the heel into the cards in the discard rack, and I go to pick up the discard. I pick up the cards like this to put them in the shuffle machine. Just as I pick them up, I must have squeezed too hard, and the middle, probably half, just goes flying out. And as soon as they hit the air, they of course opens up and they just start fluttering.
Just whee!
So they go out that direction. Some make it to the podium, some make it in the trash can that's right next to me. They make it all over that part of the pit. This is, again, back-to-back decks. So I turn, Pete. He turns his head and he looks, and I'm just pointing at the ground. And I'm just doing this because they're everywhere. And he goes, "What are you doing?" Like, "I don't know. Send me back to craps." And he just shakes his head, starts laughing. And he comes over and I think he had me. I think he took the part that I didn't throw all over the floor and told me to go ahead and pull the other deck out of the shuffle machine and start going while he retrieved all the cards and counted them to make sure we still had them all.
All right, I got you one better. So one of the first times I ever dealt at the place I'm at, I'm on the shoe and call shuffle, and I'm putting my cards in the discard rack, pick them up, turn to put them into the shuffle machine, completely miss, and they end up in the trash can that is full of half-empty beer bottles. And the poor dealer's dual rate standing floor has to take them all out, covered in beer, count them. They're all stuck together, warped, disgusting, and has to count them, and then bring me new cards.
Well, when I was relief at that second casino I worked at, I one time I went through my whole relief, the 3 tables, no big deal. And then for whatever reason, I got swapped with, maybe someone had to go home or someone was sick or something. So I became relief of a whole different spot, right? So I ended up going through 6 tables. And every table there had a shuffle machine, except for one. And it was my 6th table. So I've just been kind of going on autopilot. And then I go to shuffle, and I grab the cards, I take them, and I have them right at the spot that we just dropped them in, because it was a double deck, so we didn't have to slide it in. We just dropped it in. And I get right there, and my hand is relaxing, and the first card is just about to come out when I turn my head and notice that I'm about to just drop them into the ether. And I think I bet 2 of the cards because I clamped my hand down so fast to stop from dropping all 100 cards onto the floor.
Nothing.
Yeah, they would just gone everywhere. That was a.
Was it also the poor floor that you tormented with the other blenders? That would have been great.
No,
been like, all right, man, it's obviously not me, it's you. This only happens when you're here.
Yeah, that actually would have been absolutely fantastic. At one point over there, I was dealing blackjack, but I was practicing my drop cuts. That's something I was practicing for craps. Now we do blackjack and craps. Well, really cards and craps do almost everything differently, from how we break down the stacks, how we break down payouts, to how we pay. Almost everything is done differently. And so I was practicing my drop cuts, and I had a player that split their hands a number of different ways, and a whole bunch of them won. So they won either $15 or $20. And instead of sizing into each payout, I just did a drop cut splash right down the middle.
I would have told you to never, ever do that in my presence ever again.
The floor that was working that pit was a dual rate. He was a craps dual rate that was over on the card side because about a quarter of the shifts they'd end up on the card side. He was over on the card side. He would stand next to me because we were just BSing for about 5 minutes. So I do this drop cut splash, and he stops mid sentence. He looks at it and he goes, "I'm just gonna walk away now," and I'm out.
That would make me so mad.
It was hilarious. It was great.
I'm notorious when I'm standing floor for reprimanding hand-to-hand chips, because that is my absolute biggest pet peeve. As a teacher, as a dealer, as a dual rate, do not, for the love of God, go hand-to-hand with chips.
It was pretty funny. Just the look on his face. I'm gonna walk away now. He didn't care. He was a dual rate. He was dicey. He didn't give a damn.
But still, Jesus.
It was fantastic. What are you gonna do? Send me back to craps? Okay. You got anything else?
Let's see.
Just another absolute dumb moment.
Yeah. A friend of mine that I genuinely like a lot had a moment of, you know what, F this place. He's on roulette, and he's dealing. It's around Christmas time. He's just having a good time with his table. Marks the wrong number. Notices he marked the wrong number and swept the board, and pays it anyways. Says, "Merry Christmas." And it was like $500. And of course got dimed out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's a level of apathy that's wow. Just wow.
But he's a genuinely good dude. I mean, he's moved on and up. But yeah, it's pure apathy.
Oops.
That's about all I got.
Yeah, that's about all I've got as well.
I'm sure I've got more stories stored up here. I mean, I've been doing this for ages, but
the file directory is corrupted.
yeah. And I'm sure as soon as we're done with this recording, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I remember this crazy story, and
Then she'll forget it by next week.
I'll forget about it
by
10
dinner.
minutes later. We've already had dinner.
No, that was breakfast for us.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
Anyways,
So, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We appreciate every single one of you guys. And don't forget to tune in. We will catch you next time.
bye.
Bye now.